the search string that you're interested in.
And if you're at the Twitter site and you click on the little hashtag here, it's going to look for things that based on other things you've tweeted, it sort of has like an algorithm to say, here's some things that you might find interesting. So let's see what they think Cheryl might find interesting.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. This is, this is why you want to keep a professional account. So, oh, lots of gardening stuff. Yeah, that sounds like me. So now, if you want to get fancy, because I do have a Facebook account, and I use Twitter for my professional life, because I don't think people would be necessarily interested when I go to the spa or when I'm getting a cup of coffee. But I use Twitter to share information about, academic things when I go to a conference or when I find great technology tools that I can use in the classroom. So I like to share a lot of that stuff. And what I do with my Twitter account, I actually use it to feed in my Facebook account. Now my Facebook account is closed and private, and I just use it for personal use. So all my friends on Facebook are asking me, Cheryl, why do you keep posting this crazy stuff on Facebook? I'm like, because I have my accounts connected. Should I? I don't know. I don't, makes me look like I use Facebook a lot more than I do, but it doesn't, I don't know. Some of my friends are teachers, so they appreciate it, and they may not follow me on Twitter. So you can do things like that if you want, but just, know what you're using each account for. If it's a professional account or a personal account. And like I said, on Facebook, I use it to stalk my nieces and, share those kind of, fun pictures and family stuff. But that's just me. You might want to do the opposite or use other accounts for personal. All right, so Candy, what kind of topics do you cover in your freshman seminar class?
Time management.
Time management. So let's do a search on time management. And again, hashtags should be small and short. First of all, if you're using up valuable characters, because Twitter.
So there's a hashtag time management. Sorry.
Oh, there you go. Twitter.
Oh, look, and there's a magazine called Time Management Mag.
Oh, there you go.
They could follow that.
Yeah, all kinds of great stuff.
Time management.
Now, see, here's what's interesting. So, Katie, when you have them do a search on hashtag time management, they'll see other things that might be really interesting, such as hashtag energy, hashtag productivity, and other things that are kind of related to time management, right? When you have good time management, you have more time, you have more energy, you have more productivity, efficiency.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's where this assignment comes in. And if you do this in class, and they're looking at it, and they're telling you what their information that they're finding, you can write on the whiteboard and start creating a search list and say, here's a bunch of great tips for you guys. And that also starts leading into how do you determine if it's a credible resource, which is super important for students who are doing writing assignments, because every freshman's going to do a writing assignment. Every sophomore, junior, senior, they're going to be writing, no matter how much they hate it. So if you look at the Twitter assignment that I handed out, it tells you that this assignment encourages, I can't even talk anymore, discussion about current events, connection with key players in industries, critical reading and thinking skills, and research and synthesis of information. So you can have the students do all this stuff. You can manage the class and have that discussion about credible resources and how they determine what that is. There are checklists you could share with students about, okay, is it a credible resource if it's current? Is it a credible resource if it's from 1997? Maybe, maybe not. So you want to keep that in mind. Like you found that link to Time Management Magazine. Is it a credible resource and something useful for the students to use?
And sometimes I just want to point out something like this, right? So here's one with the hashtag time management, right? Preparation time, the key to performing under pressure. Well, you don't know if this is credible or not because you don't even know what this person is sharing. So if you click on the little link, right? So this is it starts with the hashtag, but then once you have the hashtag, you're gonna wanna go further and further and further and look at other hashtags. But ultimately, it's not about just looking at hashtags, it's about looking at good information. So what you'll do is you'll click on the link and it will open up the website that this is pointing to. So in this case, this is pointing to someone's own blog, it looks like, because it looks like coaching positive performance. It's the same logo is here. So this is probably a person who does personal coaching and leadership training, and this is probably just their personal blog, right? Now, not entirely uncredible, but it's not exactly research-based. So then you might go back to this search and find something that, let's look at that Time Management magazine and see if something in there that, where was that?
Was it like the very first
I think
one?
it's the first.
Oh, there it is, right there, okay.
Yeah.
So here's, and this is gonna link to actually a YouTube video, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if there's one that opens more to an article rather than
Well, click on the logo, maybe go to their website.
Oh yeah, so here's, and if you now follow this particular person, you may find that a lot of their articles are relevant. So let's click on this article. Time Management Magazine, Unmarked turns your overflowing bookmarks into a to-do list.
And a commercial. So a lot of these may be commercial entities, and they're of course trying to sell you something,
Right.
which is what it is. But if you look at, see how Time Management Mag, it has the person's picture, and it has a description of who they are and what they do, you can determine, okay, is this something that my students should follow, or something that I'm interested in. And there's a link down there right below the description, and that goes right to that magazine. Now, Time Management Magazine, of course, they're going to try to get you to subscribe. But there may be articles online that could be useful for your students, because I've found a lot of stuff like that. And our freshman seminar teaches time management as well, because boy, I tell you, they don't know how. You know, they have a hard enough time waking up, so.
Yeah, a lot of these seem to be blogs, which is fine, because it might lead, you know, eventually something might lead to something that's more research-based. Can you combine, I've never done this, Cheryl, can you combine multiple hashtags in a single search?
I don't know.
If I do research, oh, there you go. So now I've combined time management and research. So now I'm probably likely to get, I think I would be more likely to get stuff that's credible, because there's some research along with it. So, and this person even has, you know, PhD. So impressions and reasons to love a great tool for planning and time management. Because this person is a PhD student, still just a blog, but you know, you might find some actual, you know, research or something that's a little more credible by adding the research.
Research whisperer, that's funny.
I need that. Oh, here you go. Here's one that led to a really incredible, we would think, a credible source.
Yeah.
The Chronicle of Higher Education.
They're a little biased, but I like
research time. So this is an article on, you know, being efficient using Doodle, which I use all the time.
You use Doodle?
Yes, I use Doodle all the time. Actually, I bet following someone like Doodle, or what's the other time management software I was using for a while? It's
Trello is one. Oh, there's so many, so many things. So many apps. So many apps.
Shoot, I've already forgotten. I used to use it so much. But yeah, if you could follow some of those, they probably constantly post things like this.
Okay, so any other hashtags you want to try? Slow food, okay. That's a hashtag that a lot of our chefs, a lot of our chefs follow, because we're part of the Slow Food Nation at Kendall, because our culinary program.
I've never heard the term before,
That's better food.
but it makes sense.
Yeah, instead of, it's the exact opposite of fast food.
Is it supposed to be part of like the whole slow movement?
Yes, actually it is, because they want you to slow down
Right.
and use natural, organic, local, homegrown, instead of, you know, driving through a drive-through.
Homemade, like making the pie crust yourself?
Yep, Yeah,
We're not buying cereal that has chemicals and stuff.
exactly. So, yeah, the whole slow
Very
food
dry.
movement and, you know, farm to table, all of those
And
things.
that's another one.
Yep. Yeah, so if you're interested, you can follow some of our chefs.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back and my green at home.
There you go. Perfect. So do you think doing hashtags would be useful for your students?
Mm-hmm. I do. It's useful for me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, I find a lot of really interesting things to bring into my class. You know, and I'll show my students my Twitter feed and kind of try to share some information. When my students tweet, I'll retweet them. We'll talk about that.
You mean to move on to the,
Yep.
okay?
That is a fancy food show. Is it here or is it in New York?
You know, I'm not sure. They used to have a fancy food show here all the time.
Yeah.
Search hashtag fancy food. All right, so Twitter assignment number 2. We kind of already did this. It's called Follow You, Follow Me. And this is where you build, in your class, you build a list of leaders in whatever industry. So for business, you might want your students to follow someone like Dan Pink. So you would search,
I follow him.
he's interesting.
He is interesting.
I follow Dan Pink. So you would do a search on his name, Dan Pink. Now there's one thing to know about when you're following people, and I'll show my my follow lists, because I think I've got some. All right, so me and following. So you can see the followers, and if you're following someone who is, I don't know, famous or an industry leader, see how this Chris Dixon has this blue check mark next to it. So if you want to put in a search for Barack Obama, we can see how many Barack Obamas are out there. If I can, so the one with the blue check mark, that is the certified authentic Barack Obama account. So you'd want to follow that. So there's some that are less than desirable out there.
I didn't know that. That's really interesting. That is good to know, especially with people, you know, famous people.
Yep. So you would want to make sure that your students understand that they're following the correct person.
Right.
Cool.
So because you can have multiple, you know, usernames, and you can call yourself anything you want, right?
So why, so how does he get, do they do the check mark?
Yes, it has to go through some process through Twitter. I don't think there's going to be too many people wanting to be Cheryl Boncory, so I haven't gone through that process or decided to. But occasionally, you'll see some people, their accounts might get hacked, and that's one thing you really want to safeguard against. You know, using, you know, this for academic purposes, you probably don't stand a huge chance of being hacked and having someone send out tweets that are not savory, let's say. Okay, so that's how you determine if they're the real person.
Cool. I learned something new today.
See, it's a great day. So the following part, so if I want to follow, I already followed Dan Pink, but you would just type in the name and look for the real person, there's Daniel Pink, and then just hit the follow button. So I'm already following him, so it says following.
Are you following the CSU CTRE?
I don't think so.
CSU underscore?
Oops.
CTRE, right?
CTRE.
All right, now,
CTRE. Followed by Mike Sikowski. I know him.
now you can follow somebody.
Yep, you've got CSU underscore CTRE. So
Oh, there
I'm,
it is. Oh, very cool.
so now we'll get your tweets. You can follow me.
Out of curiosity, so right now, I'm Hannah Harden underscore Troy. If I change, do you all know if I change my name, will my followers get disconnected?
No, no,
Okay.
yeah.
Just
So you could
see
change
that
your
name.
handle, absolutely.
Okay, I handle it.
You know, you have to be careful that it might tell you, oh, this handle's already in use. And
Yeah, and if somebody's trying to acknowledge you in a tweet by saying, you know, @Harden underscore Troy, then now if you've changed that, right, you're probably safe because you don't have a ton of followers yet, but as you start to build that up, now's a good time to make that decision about whether or not you want to make that change.
Okay.
And one other question, just so, because I think one thought I initially had about like getting students to tweet or follow me or whatever was that they would, I connect them with my regular tweet because it's professional.
Okay.
And so because I foresee tweeting things that are around the work that I do, or at least the things that I'm interested in, usually policy related stuff, things that impact the community, all that kind of stuff. And so I wouldn't have an issue with them per se following me on that. But what I picked up today was that it might be a good idea just to develop a completely different one for a class.
It might be.
Because,
Yeah.
you know,
So
the
there are
interaction
two different approaches to that.
Yeah.
One is, let's say you're teaching 5 different social work classes, right? You could create a hashtag for each class, right? So CSU underscore SW1345 or whatever the course number is. And then that way, when your students are following you, let's say they move from this class to the next class, they still want to follow you because you're tweeting things that matter to their career, right? So you could just have a hashtag for each class. Now with me, with the example that I gave earlier, the KC capstone, because I don't tend to tweet about hospitality, I created a separate account because most of what I tweet about personally was not going to have anything to do with that class. So that's where it made sense for me to have a separate handle and a separate hashtag. But for other classes I teach and other things that I have students follow me on, I would probably just create a new hashtag for the class and not necessarily a separate handle.
Sure.
So you have to think about, like you said earlier, a lot of it's about branding. So you have to think about what makes sense for you.
So, and another thing that you might want to do when you're following someone, so I would want to look at who they are following, okay? Because they're obviously connected in the industry, and they probably have some really good connections. So your students may want to follow them as well. So you're creating this connection beyond the school walls so that you can actually create your own personal learning network and find out what all of these, you know, what they're doing out there. You know, it's always more interesting to find out what's going on beyond the, you know, walls of the institution and just what happens in the classroom. Okay? So then, part 3, assignment part 2, if you look on the sheet, it encourages critical reading and thinking, research and synthesis of information, engagement with the instructor, professionals in the field, and each other. So encourage your students to follow each other. And it creates the learning experience that goes beyond the classroom. So part 3 is called Tweet That, Tweety Bird. So this is where you actually have the students start tweeting things, start doing some research, finding great articles, and sharing that with each other. So they can share businesses, they can share articles, they can share peer-reviewed journal information. And it's all out there on the internet. And it's as easy as finding a link. And most websites today actually have a share link. So you click on the share link and it actually creates a tweet
so
for you.
let's find a good example of that. So let's go back to Candy's example of time management. I'm going to go out to the web here and just time management tips. All right. We'll go to Entrepreneur. That's a very common magazine. So 10 time management tips that work for entrepreneurs. We'll skip past the advertisement. And then, like Cheryl said, right here, I can tweet it, right? So if I hit tweet, I'm logged in as you, Candy, because this is the browser I was using earlier. So I'm going to tweet, if you don't mind, I'll tweet something from you on time management.
Okay.
So what it's going to do, see how it already creates the whole thing for me. I don't have to type anything. It creates the whole, now you might add something. You might say, class, pay attention, like that.
And then you
Because
put in
maybe
your
students are following you.
Yep.
And then when you hit tweet, it's out there.
Yep. Now, one extra step I would say is if you've created a class hashtag, so what was your class ID number?
1,500.
1500, so you would just create hashtag 1500, and that would be for your class. And you would add that to that tweet box, and then send that out to your students, so then all they have to do is do a quick search for hashtag 1500, and they would get all of the tweets that you've been sending, that all of the students in the class have been sending, and you can actually compile that into a very useful list of resources for them to take anywhere. They can print it out, they can, keep it bookmarked on the internet, they can look at the links. Students are more likely to click on a link on their phone or iPad or online some way. They're more likely to do that than take a piece of paper, type in a URL for a website, and actually go there. This is instant gratification, which we know is what our students crave. They're there, they can read it on the train, at the ball field, wherever they happen to be.
And here, most sites these days make it very easy. So I came to this site called Upstart Business Journal. I can click on any of these to follow this. So if I want to follow this on Twitter, I would just click that, as long as I'm logged into my Twitter account. And then down here is where I share this particular article. So up here where it says connect with us, that's just to follow. And then down here is where I would share. So if I'm going to share this, I'm going to use Cheryl's example. So I might add a hashtag here. They didn't actually shorten the URL for us here.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. If
I think
you're
that's the next slide anyway.
Yeah. This is really important. This little number right here, next to the tweet box, it says -3. That means I'm over my 140 character allotment by 3.
Oh.
So you have to go in there and shorten that. Now there's two ways you can do it. You can shorten this URL, or you can take out some of that text.
So I could say what Oprah Winfrey, Stephen Covey, Tim Ferriss. I can change that to an and sign.
Yep.
And
Now you're
and
just
I can take out have to, because that's redundant. Say about time management, and there I go.
And this is where you teach them lessons on how to be concise.
Okay.
So you don't want, we've all gotten the essays from our students where they say the same thing over and over and over in just different ways. But you want them to learn how to be concise, get to the point right away, and give you the information. And this is a really good lesson on that.
So the other thing, and I think we have a slide for the Bitly. So another way that you can cut a lot of the space out is to shorten the URL. So in this one here, when I clicked on this, I got this really long URL. So we're going to shorten that. See everything that's highlighted in blue? We're going to shorten it. So I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to go over here and I Googled URL shorteners. There's a whole bunch of them. Some people use Bitly, Google Shortener, there's other ones, so I'm gonna click on bit.ly. And up here where it says paste a link to shorten it, I'm gonna paste in that long URL, and I'm gonna click shorten. And now it's given me this little short URL. And I copy that, and I paste it there. So I replace that really long URL with that shorter URL. So that's another way that you can decrease the amount of, I can see they didn't even count that, they didn't count. Yeah,
yeah.
the way that.
Yeah. Okay, and then all you do is hit the tweet button. It goes out to all your followers, your students.
Candy, do you mind if I tweet this from your account?
Sure.
Okay.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Tweet.
Oh, sorry.
Wait,
Sorry. We can go
We
back
have
to
to-
that.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
We're quick tweeters.
So, like if you needed to, like, for example, she just, like on the article, just click tweet and then that, and I see you shorten it. But sometimes people add a little bit to that. You should read this article by such and such.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
Usually just put like at the beginning, read this article by, or whatever.
Yep.
Like for example, I just found an article for tweet, right? And I'm trying to figure out what the word is.
Yeah, I struggle with that a lot of times, especially when I'm hoping that my class, like when I used to do that for Capstone and I was trying to get my class to read the tweet, I would try to think of, well, how am I calling attention to this? I mean, first of all, part of it is just because I am tweeting it and I have followers, I'm kind of implicitly saying, please read what I'm sharing. I'm sharing this because I think it's important.
Right.
But sometimes you want to add something, like you want to say something like, it's almost like you want to say things like, this meant so much to me, I would mean something to you too, or tip number 4 changed my life.
Right.
And then you know, so like in this example, with this particular article, what I might do in that case is I'd take out all of this. So first of all, I would shorten this using the shortener like we did a few minutes ago, right? Then I would probably keep the @Upstart Business because I want to give kudos to the person who wrote the article, right? And then what I would probably change is I would probably change this whole title. I would just take all that out and say tip number 4 changed my life. And then people can click on it. They don't need to see the headline. They might be intrigued by the fact that you said, oh wow, there's something in this article that changed my life. And then they're going to click on it and read the article from there. So that's one way that I sometimes shorten things. I just decide not to use the full title that was given to me, and I tweak it so that I can fit in what I want to fit in.
Yep, and especially if it's tying to your classes. So if you have a certain topic that you were talking about that day, you could say, hey, this is a continuation of our conversation, you know, and you could share that with your students. So it makes it easier for them to connect to what your topic of the day or whatever your objectives are for that week. So the students know exactly what they're getting.
So has everybody used this yet? Have you tweeted something with this hashtag yet?
I did.
So I didn't know if you guys wanted to grab a lunch before they disappear. And as we keep talking here, I want to, because we could talk for a long time. You guys got to stop us.
Now, this.
Hey, I know that.
This is TweetBeam, what is this?
This is called TweetBeam,
Okay.
and it's kind of a neat way to showcase all of the tweets following a certain hashtag. So you can show this in your classroom. So your students, essentially their name is up in lights, right? It's like, hey, look at the great stuff you guys have been finding and sharing.
So
I'm trying to put the cursor over this one, there we go. Okay, so this example right here, what you would really want to do in that one you did
I tried
there
to do
is,
the apps, but
Yeah.
I couldn't, yours didn't come up.
So-
Yours did, but I didn't want to do just one and not
that's
the other.
fine, mine is Aurora Ranky, all one word.
Yeah,